Hello everybody, my name's Renee and this is my cash stuffing journey. If you're new here, thank you so much for taking a chance and clicking on my video. I hope you decide to like, subscribe and stick around for a while, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your ongoing support. So today is a budget bootcamp video. I know it's been a while since I've launched this, but I did have a whole bunch of stuff going on, but I'm back into it now. We are discussing the debt snowball today, and this is step 3 of the budget bootcamp. So we've done step 1, which we've gone through all of our bank statements for the last 3 months, and we've calculated where our money's going, where it's coming from, what can be gotten rid of, and I was quite shocked. There was a lot of spending on things like fast food and especially Afterpay. So those are kind of the things that I'm going to have to address. And then in step 2, we went through what my financial goals are for this year or moving forward. Now today we're going to address the debt. Now when I originally heard of debt, when I first started this journey, I was like, yep, mortgage, car, that's debt. And debt encompasses so much more than that, and sometimes it's things that we don't even think about as a debt. So I thought before we get into the actual debt, I thought I would list some of the things that encompass debt. So it is the typical, I'm just going to write it down on this sheet. So it's the typical mortgage. It's car payments. It's personal loans. So that could be to buy a car. It could be to go on a holiday. It could be if you're lending money to somebody. It could be if you're doing extensions on your home or upgrades. People get personal loans for so many reasons. It also includes things like payday loans. Now, it's been a long time since I've had a payday loan. They're the kind of loans that are very short, generally up to a few $1,000s. Very high interest, but they don't really do many credit checks. They just give you the money. It has been a while since I've had them, so that may have changed. But generally speaking, they're kind of predatory, to be honest. I know a lot of people use them because they need them, and that's what they're counting on. It can be buy now, pay later services. So things like Afterpay, ZipPay. I think there's one called Klarna, which is what they do through Etsy. But they're like PayPal, Commonwealth Bank, they all have them right now. I must admit, we are a victim of that. And a lot of people don't realize that having payday, like buy now, pay later, is actually a negative when you're going for a home. It's considered a line of credit, so they treat it like a credit card. And in Australia, having credit cards is a negative. I know it's different in the US. I'm not sure if it's like that anywhere else in the world. But with credit cards, if you use them right, they're a positive. In Australia, even if you use them right, they're still considered a line of credit, and they're frowned upon, especially if you're going for a mortgage, because they view that as a debt, like a rolling ongoing debt. Even if you've got nothing on the card and it's a zero balance, it's still a line of credit. So a lot of people don't realize that buy now, pay later services are the same. I didn't realize that until we started saving for our own home. And one of the first things our mortgage broker said was pay off any loans and get rid of any pay now, buy later services. Same with credit cards. He said get rid of them. So we're going to add the credit cards. And another thing that some people may not realize is in-store cards. So say for example you go to a furniture store and it's got a 0 upfront, 0 interest for 18 months. That's an in-store credit, an in-store card, and it is considered a credit card. So it is a line of debt. You can often use them within the store. Some of them you can use with like outside because they just give you a credit card, and yeah, it's a negative in Australia. So we've also got, now this is less likely in Australia, but there's medical debt. So I know in the US the medical system often means that people without insurance, or even with insurance depending on their coverage, may get medical debts just from going to the emergency room. We are lucky in Australia that we do have a Medicare. Our health system can be something to be desired at times, but ultimately if we go to emergency, we're not going to have a, hang on one second. Sorry, Les just came walking through them because our floorboards are so loud. It's really distracting. So yeah, medical debt. So in Australia, we don't necessarily have a debt when we go to the ER, but I know in other countries that is a thing. Now, another thing is student debt. Now, this changes. I can only talk about what it's like in Australia. I have a very minor understanding of what it's like in the US in particular, not so much other countries. So if you go to school in another country, please down in the comments list how your system works. But in Australia, we have what's called HECS, or help debt. It is where if you are eligible, which I think pretty much the eligibility is you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, you are over 18, and you meet the means, like the income testing, you are eligible to get government assistance for your schooling. So they will pay for your classes. They generally only pay for the classes, and then you can get scholarships and everything for the rest. And then when you earn over a certain amount, now I think it was, the last time I checked, it was $46,000 a year, but it may have changed. So if you earn over $46,000 a year, you are mandatory required to start making mandatory repayments through your income. So every pay cycle they take money out, and then at the so that's how you pay it. Now the problem is, and some people don't know this, while it is an interest-free loan, they do add what's called indexation. So it's based on the economy. I don't really understand how that part works. I don't understand the indexation part. What I do understand is each pay, when they take out money, it sits in a pool. It's not going directly to the debt. It sits in a pool. Then on the 30th of June, or it might be the 1st of June, on the 1st of June, that your HECS debt is indexed. So this year it's going to be 4.8%. So they're going to add on 4.8%. At the end of tax time, that money that was sitting in that pool is then applied to your debt. The problem is the indexation is oftentimes more, or right at the same amount as the money that was sitting in the pool. So the HECS debts aren't really changing that much. Some people aren't even paying enough to cover the indexation. So that is kind of a problem that everyone is yelling about now. Now, I know a lot of people have opinions. Personally, my opinion is, when I was young, I was in a very low income situation. I was working in a fast food shop, and outside of that, I had no prospects. I didn't. I knew that. So going to university, and I'm the first person in my family to do so for generations, going to university and getting a degree in which I knew there was going to be work ongoing, I would never have an issue with work, was really important to me. Now, the issue is that no one sat down with me and explained what any of the paperwork meant. It was up to me as a young 18-year-old who had no financial knowledge or no financial understanding, no understanding of the consequences. And I signed the paper, and I admit that. So I know that I'm willing to pay my debt, more than happy to, because the government did pay for my schooling, and I'm happy to pay that back. My issue is I was told that it was an interest-free loan, Now, to me, an interest-free loan is they give you $20,000, which is what my degree was at the time, and I pay $20,000 back. That's what it meant to me at the time. Now, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. My debt is now sitting at $50,000. Some of that is indexation, and some of that is me furthering my degree, which is on me. But it's a system that's not working, and it needs to be changed. I don't know if it's going to be. It's very complicated. So let me know your opinion in the bottom. I would really like to see your opinion on the whole HECS debt. If you have a HECS debt, like, are you struggling to pay it right now? Or have you paid it off, which is amazing? How did you pay it off? Because I might need to get some tips and tricks off you, honestly. I did start paying it outside of my mandatory payments, but when we spoke to the broker, he said, listen, unless you can pay it off in total, don't worry about it until after you're in your home. So we're doing that. But I am nervous about the indexation this year, but it's a lot less than it was last year, which was 7.2%. So hopefully it won't be too bad. I did increase my payments though. So last year, when the whole indexation thing happened, I increased my payments with my employer. So hopefully that helps. And I'm lucky that I can be in that situation. But random tangent, sorry. So student debt is a big one. And it's one of those ones that kind of sneaks up on you and kind of gets you later, I think, with that one. But yeah, so anything else? Something that we have experienced recently, fines, because Les apparently has a lead foot. So Les got a fine off the police. He came out of it was very late at night, there was no one on the road. He came out of a service station and went kind of up the road on the wrong side before it's really complicated unless I can show you with diagrams, but he got a fine. He got busted and he got a fine, so we're paying that off. Things like overdue bills are considered debts. So things like if you've got a gas bill, an electricity bill, a water bill, rates, they can all, if they're unpaid, they are considered debts, and often they can all go on your credit history. So unpaid bills. Now I think that's all of it, as far as I can remember. If you've got any other debts that don't fit into these categories, put them down in the comments below. I would love to see like what people consider a debt. But to me, that is, I consider all of those debts. And in the whole debt snowball system, if I had these, it would all go in it. Now, how does the debt snowball work? Now mine's a little different because I have a debt and a snowball savings. So we're not paying attention to the savings section today. We're just focusing on the debt, only because we're going to discuss this later. Now, if you're on your savings journey, a lot of the time the debt is what you're going to address first, because that's what's dragging you down. Once you can clear the debt, that's when you can really focus on the savings. So with the debt snowball, it's basically at the very top, you put in your smallest debt. Then you have your next smallest, next smallest, next smallest, and as you get further down, you get bigger and bigger debts. Now, when you list out all of your debts, put them in the smallest amount first and go upwards. Always make sure that you are paying the minimum repayment on all of your debts. So if you pay your debts payments monthly, every month you need to be making your minimum repayments. If you are experiencing financial hardship and you are struggling to pay that, ring up each company. So whoever you've got a debt with, ring them up and ask about their financial hardship policy. now I know most places in Australia has them. I do not know about other countries, but it's worth a shot. Ring them up and ask them about their financial hardship policy. Now, under Australian regulation, they are required to work with you so that you are not experiencing financial stress. For example, when I had my car payment and I was on maternity leave, I wasn't getting my full income. I was only on the maternity leave with the government, which was $1,500 a fortnight. Now, we were drowning. Like, we could not do it. So what I did is I rang up my car company and I said, hey, this is the situation. We are under extreme financial hardship. Is there anything you can do to help? Now, because I had been paying consistently, they basically said, right, to get this paid off and to ease your stress, what we are going to do is we are going to remove the interest. So they took off the interest on that loan. Then it only became the principal. And then on top of that, we're going to allow you to pay $50 a fortnight. Now, I did have to fill out paperwork that showed like where my money was going and what I was earning. But then my car payment dropped to $50 a fortnight. $50. And it was like that long term from then going forward. Often when you ring up electrical companies and gas companies, they also have hardship policies. So you can ask about reducing your payments, or at least getting on a payment plan so they can't disconnect it. Because if you're on a payment plan and you're consistently making payments, they're not allowed to disconnect the service. Also in Australia, if you have utilities, so gas, electricity, if you have a healthcare card, you are eligible for what are called EPA vouchers. So EEPA, EPA, or it's like EEAPA or something like that. And it's basically through Service New South Wales. They might have them in other states, I'm not sure, but it's worth looking into. And it is a voucher that allows you up to $600 on your bills. So everyone is eligible once a year. So you go into Service New South Wales, you take your original bill and your healthcare card, and they will apply money to the bill. You do have to be in the negative though, so you do have to owe money on the bill. If you are up to date on the bill, they won't apply a credit. It's just to help you get up to date. They do also do it, as far as I know, for medications. They can help with medications, but I'm not quite sure. But also reach out to your local churches and charities. They can also offer assistance through food hampers and things like that. If you are looking for work, if you're on a Centrelink payment and you are under a job agency and they're helping you look for work, a lot of the time they have vouchers and stuff available for clothes and for fuel to help with that process. They just don't advertise it. So for example, when I was looking for work, I was able to get I explained that I needed clothing so I could attend interviews. So they allowed me to get a couple of outfits and a pair of shoes. And they also gave me a fuel card so that I could attend interviews and get to work, because there wasn't public transport at that time. So try and utilize as much of the things in your community as possible. So now that we've kind of gone through that, so when you are starting the debt savings, listing all of your debts from smallest to largest, once you have done that, apply an extra to the smallest debt. So it could be 10, it could be 20, it could be $50. It doesn't matter. But add extra to it. Once that debt is paid off, roll the minimum payment of that debt plus the extra into the next one. So in that next debt, you're going to be paying the minimum payment for that debt, the minimum payment for the previous debt, and the extra from that debt. So what happens is it has a follow-on effect. So say the minimum repayment for Zip Pay was $100 a month. I then said, okay, I'm going to put $50 on that. So I'm paying $150 a month. Now, the minimum payment for the next debt is $100 a month. Once you've paid that zip pay, you take that $150 a month, roll it into the $100 a month, and now you're paying $250 a month. Once that's debt paid off, you take that $250 a month and you roll it into the next one. And you keep going. And you will find that that first one can be rough. It can be. And it can be hard. But as they start rolling over into the next one, it gets easier and easier because you're already used to living on that income because you've been paying the previous debt. So by rolling it into that one, into the next one, it gets it down quicker. And the further along you get, the more that becomes, the quicker they get paid off. So I will actually show you a lived example. Now, my debts. So these are my debts. I've got zip pay. I had $227 owing $88. Every pay cycle I pay $100. So I only have 2 pays to pay this off. So Les's fine was $387. There's now $300 owing, and I'm paying $50 a pay. We have a credit card of $3,000. There's $3,000 owing, and I'm starting to pay $100 a pay cycle. And my HEX is currently sitting at $49,685. This one is a long-term debt. It's long-term. I'm not focusing on that right now, but I thought I needed to put it on there because it is a debt. It is a debt, and it's going to hang over my head until it's paid. Now, since I completed this sheet, I have actually paid off this zip pay. So that's gone now. I've paid it, which is why I've put it on this. I've marked it as green, put in zip pay, and then I paid it on the 10th of that should say the 4th. The 10th of the 4th, so I paid it at the beginning of the month. So I was paying $100 a pay on that. I have now taken that $100 and I've rolled it into the fine. So this pay, I paid $150 on that. So now we're down to $150. I'll make one more payment of $150, and then I will take the $100 from the zip pay, the $50 from the fine, and put that on the credit card with the $100. So that'll be what, $250 a fortnight I'll be paying on that credit card. Now, my plan is I often get really good tax returns. I make it that way on purpose because July is kind of our celebrate time. It's mine and Les's birthday. We generally go away. We use our tax money. A bulk of that tax money this time is going to go into our deposit, which is what we planned, but I'm also going to pay off our debts. So I'm going to pay off the credit card. So by the time July comes, all of these debts will be paid, all of them. That means that when we go for our home, we are going to be debt free, apart from my HEX debt, which is just going to impact our borrowing capacity. So that's basically, the bank's going to look at how much I pay each pay into my HEX, and they're going to use that as a liability. So it's going to impact how much they're willing to lend. But based on what our broker has said, we are well within our budget. Well within it. So that doesn't impact us too much. So once I've paid Les's fine, I'll colour in this dot and put Les's fine here and the date I paid it off. And I'm going to keep doing that until I've completed everything. When we get our mortgage, it will go on this sheet. Now, when we do the savings part of it, I will explain this section. But basically, it's this concept, but the other way. So you start saving for one thing, and then once you've met that goal, you roll it into the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and it goes through. But we will talk more about that later when we're up to that part of Budget Bootcamp. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I know I went on random tangents, I apologize, but you kind of have to have that information to see the whole picture of what I'm trying to tell you and what I'm trying to explain. If you've got any questions, concerns, put them down in the comments. If you would like a copy of the Budget Bootcamp, the Debt Snowball, and this one, please let me know. I'm happy to email it to you. I am going to release all of this in a booklet once it's all complete and I've kind of ironed out all the wrinkles. But I'm happy for you to have these early versions at no charge. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for sticking so long if you've watched this whole video. Remember to live, laugh, love, and when life gets hard, just roll it in glitter. Bye guys.